and welcome. This is Jovi, and this is Wild Thoughts. This is my thoughts. This is free speech, so I don't buy talk. Albeit, this is how I see it. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to my channel. Don't like the video, don't share the video. You know what? Just like the darn video. Love it, subscribe it, it's good for you. Man, this is some crazy shit. Yeah, some crazy shit. You know, the former president of the United States just got shot. It grazed him, but he still got shot. You know, and perilous time, people. Perilous time, you know. Seem like America is gonna go into full retard. You know. And I don't think it's over. You know, I don't think it's over. You know what I mean? Everybody got to be watching their heads at this point. You know what I mean? Because who knows what this is going to lead to? You know. And at this point, you know, I'm just trying to take it all in, because alright, people, welcome. I'm here with you again. Let me sit properly in my chair. My voice is kind of gone a little bit. I know, I just feel like something's in my throat. I don't know if it's COVID or what, or just a regular cold or whatever it is, but it's just there, not a big deal. So if you hear me scratching my throat, you know, every now and then, you know, just excuse me. So beforehand, because I'm not gonna say that every time I do that. Okay. Yeah, the lighting is kind of different today, and that's one of the things. I'm trying different things, you know. I'm trying to figure out, you know, what kind of feel I want to have, you know, as I slowly improve, you know, my presentation. You know, this is the early stage, so I'm just trying out a bunch of different stuff. I can look behind me and I can see that this picture is leaning, so let me fix it. Yeah. So, yeah, on that one, it's okay. Alright, yeah, but I'm trying different things, you know, with the lighting, you know, with a camera. You know, I have light here. That if I want, I can do that. But I'm not gonna do that. Because I'm trying out a different lighting, you know, different lighting scheme. What else? We even got a turntable here that we can play some music for ya, which that will happen at some point, right? Um, yeah, but welcome again. This is Wild Thoughts, and I'm Jovi. And today I'm gonna talk about what everybody's been talking about, right? And if you're following the news, you know what I'm about to talk about, and this is just gonna be my take on it. I have a couple. I decided to reserve my reaction until now because I'm trying to gather as much information to form an opinion on the subject. I'm not altogether total with my opinion yet, but I still want to cover it before it becomes stale news, right? And that's the Donald Trump situation, right? If you follow the news, you realize that he's been shot at, or he has been shot, while he's doing a presentation in, if I'm not mistaken, that's Pennsylvania. He was doing a presentation. There was said to be a lone shooter on top of a roof about 200 yards away with a rifle. That shot, in Donald Trump's direction and grazed him at the right ear. So, say what you will, he got clipped, grazed, zinged, etc. Something happened, and they're still trying to figure it out. Okay? I'm gonna tell you what my first reaction is, right? And whenever I saw it, I was watching the programming, surrounding, like Jamaican ideals. And I'll be honest, when I heard it happen, I say to myself, like, hey, can't something like that happen in Jamaica? That was my first reaction, right? Because some of these corrupt politicians and even corrupt professionals, out there, in Jamaica, a lot of them needs their ears clipped or grazed or zinged or whatever, because they're so corrupt, and it costs us dearly, and the end results of corruption is you don't see it now. It shows up later, either in the education system, security, health, and so on and so forth. So I think that's the number one thing that we have going on right now is corruption. And what I saw happen to Donald Trump, I was like, when is that ever going to happen in Jamaica? I think we're due for one of those things, to happen. I think it might happen sooner than later, because he's getting pretty out of hand. And I'm talking on both sides of the aisle. I'm not just talking about a one-sided thing. You know what I mean? Jamaica is a corrupt society, right? And I've had these conversations, in private, and this is kind of a little piece of it, that we're due for some form of civil unrest or something like that, because it's getting totally out of hand down there. So that was my first reaction, whenever I saw the news, saw it in the news that happened. But I thought that, to be honest with you, I didn't thought that Donald Trump would have been shot at. To be honest with you, I thought probably Biden would have got shot at because the Republicans. I don't want to say Republicans either. The Trump supporters, because you have good Republicans and you have bad Republicans, just like you have good Democrats and you have bad Democrats, right? Um, I thought it would have happened to Biden because a lot of Trump supporters, they were pretty rambunctious to say the least. Stemming from the 2020 election on forward, you know, they have been pretty all over the place, and to the extent of making threats and things like that. So you would think that something like that would happen, to the other side. Um, and I thought Biden would have got his ears grazed before Donald Trump. It's very unfortunate. I'm glad he made it, out of there alive, because it could be more catastrophic, not only for him but also and his family, but also for the country. You know, I wouldn't like to see the chaos that would have stemmed from that. And still, is a possibility that there can be chaos. You know, um, stem from that, because how we know that somebody on the other side of the aisle is not going to get their ears graced? How do we know that um, they're not planning, to retaliate in some way, shape, or form, right? So we gotta watch and see, and that's my whole. Um, I don't want to say my whole take on it, but that's the way I understand it now. That it's not over, and I am bracing for at least a clapback somewhere. The thing is that you're not gonna know where it's coming from and when it's gonna happen, right? On the other hand, it seems eerily kind of weird to me. You know what I mean? I don't want to say it's fake or anything like that, but it just seems weird, right? Um, Based on how it happened, like for example, the shooter, right? The shooter is supposedly dead, right? And we still haven't found out, why he did it, right? We need a motive, in order to put these things together. You got to find a motive, right? So why, like, who is he? We know his first name, and I think middle name and last name, but we don't know nothing else, right? So are we gonna find out? How about his parents? You know, and who trained him, right? Because that guy's a pretty good shot. If you're gonna lay in the prone position 200 yards away, how many? I need to look this up, right? To see how many feet make a yard, right? So let me look this up. Uh, Feet to yards. Hold on. It says 1 foot equals 0.33 yards. How do you calculate that? Let me do yards to feet then. Yards to feet. Yeah, 1 yard is 3 foot. Yeah, that's what I thought. Right. So 3 foot times. They say it's over 200 yards. So that's 600 feet. I don't know if any of y'all ever shot at something 600 feet away. I mean, it's hard to shoot at something probably 20 feet away, much less 600 feet, and actually hit the target, right? Right? What did he use? Did he use an ACOG, or did he just use your normal windage and all that stuff? And what's the setup of the rifle, right? So if you can hit a target from 600 feet, which they say is about 200 yards. So if it's 200 yards, if you're correct that it's 200 yards, that's about 600 feet, right? That's hard to hit. So if you can graze somebody's ears, yes, he didn't get hit square in the forehead, thank God, right? But if you can hit somebody at 600 feet, you're a pretty good shot. Even if you graze their hair, you're a pretty good shot if you're gonna get that close, right? And provided that you don't have tactical training, right? So who trained him? Did he train himself? To control his breathing, you know what I mean? And what to aim at? Because if you're gonna shoot a target that far, you got to be aiming like pretty much well above the target, right? Because bullets has trajectory, right? It's kind of like rainbows, right? If you like when you shoot a basketball, right? Probably not that expressed as when you shoot a basketball, but it has trajectory, right? Or when you throw a rock, it goes up and then it comes down. The same thing with a bullet. So you had to be aiming at. How does he know what to aim at? Right? Did he even survey? Did he know prior that they're coming? And he went there and does all his surveillance and all that stuff. There's just so much questions that is coming out of this, that I'm asking, right? Because even though is a lone shooter, right? I don't think, and providing it's not fake, you know what I mean. You know, I'm skeptical about everything that I see on the media and social media and stuff like that. So I always begin with questions, right? So number one, if it's real, right? Who helped him, right? He's only somewhere about 20 years old, right? So, and there's nothing to say that he has a tactical training. If he wasn't in the military or anything like that, then you would have found out already. So obviously he's not, right? So who helped him, right? How does he know how to discharge a rifle in the prone position and hit a target that far, right? So those are some of my questions. And as I said, motive, right? This is one of the things that I'm listening out for. But how are they going to find that out? I don't know, right? But as I said, my first reaction to this thing is like, hey, when are we gonna have something like that, around the parts where I come from, so we can rid, you know, our place of corruption, right? And so people can thrive, right? And as I said, I never thought it would have happened to Donald Trump. I was looking at for it coming from the other side, and that's just based on how things was positioned, from it was positioned in and positioned, and carried on from the time, the 2020 election moving forward. You know what I mean? You know, one side just seemed very angry, and the other side just seemed like they're basking in the glory of whatever their victory is, right? So I was looking for it coming from the other side. And I'm not saying that the other side shot at this side either. I'm just saying it just looked to me that somebody from the other side would have got shot at some point. Especially you saw what happened in January 6th, right? All that stuff that happened. So it just looked like somebody from the other side would have been shot at. Um, excuse me. So seeing that just kind of to me that was just totally coming from left field, right? I do want to comment on one thing. I heard another YouTuber comment on it, and in covering it, and I'm talking about Soulflow. I'm gonna call his name. I mean, he's a guy that I look up to, and in most part, a person who I want to model my podcast or my videos or whatever this is after. What I mean, I respect how he cover his stuff and how he build his stuff, and I've been following him, and I'm gonna continue to follow him. I just didn't agree with what he said when I mean, he has a right to say it, right? And he was saying that he's not gonna vote for Donald Trump, right? And he has all right to say that. You have all right to vote for who you want to vote for. That's not where I disagree. Um, it was just the reasons that he gave, right? And because he said he has an argument with a friend, and the friend said ask him to give a couple reasons um, why he shouldn't vote for Donald Trump. And the reason that he gave, I don't think those were solid points. Because one of the things that he said is that Donald Trump was saying that he would make police officers immune, right? And when it said immune, it's just immune from prosecution. So they can go out there and they can do anything, and then there's no consequence, there's no repercussions. And if you take it from a total, logical standpoint, you would realize that Donald Trump says a lot of stuff that can't really happen, right? At least in my opinion, right? He says a lot of stuff that can't really happen, that he can't really do, right? Because I mean, he's just saying stuff to rally his base and rile up his base. You know what I mean? And what I understand too is that his base understand that a lot of the stuff that he says he can't do. They just need him to do a few things. And one of those is to stack the court, right? In their favor. So when hot button issues come through like gay rights and I want to say LGBTQ rights, right? And abortion and things of that nature. Whenever those are pushed through the Supreme Court, the ruling can be in their favor, right? Because there is constitutional scholars, right? And they all lean either side, right? One lean more liberal, and one lean more, and some lean more conservative, right? And those are the same constitutional scholars became lawyers, became judges, and also became Supreme Court judges, right? So you still carry your belief system all the way up to the Supreme Court, right? And your belief system also dictate how you interpret the laws and interpret the Constitution, right? And with that he said, there's some constitutional issues there. for one, Donald Trump don't have control over all the police department in the United States, or the sheriff department in the United States. Those are done by each state, right? First and foremost, and then each state is done by each city and each county, right? So not even the governor of a state has total jurisdiction over the police department, right? They're all split up into cities and they're split up into counties, right? So Donald Trump may be able to do that with federal police, but he can't really do that. That all 50 states and all cities in every state would have to agree to do something like that. It's not something that he can just shake a wand or just sign an executive order and say, okay, this is what we're going to do, right? So those are things that he may utter and may say, openly. But I mean, the people who follow him knows that a lot of the stuff that they know he wasn't going to build no border wall, right? They just need him to be willing to tackle immigration. That's all they need, and start the court for me. I just need to do a few things. All that stuff, we're gonna jive with all that stuff until you make it, and then here is our specific demands, right? So I hear him talk, but I don't take him at his word for every single thing. And if you take him at his word for every single thing, that's where you're gonna get thrown off. You know what I mean? So I just think that wasn't a good enough. The example that you used wasn't a good enough example. But you have your right to vote for who you want to vote for. I mean, I'm not going to vote for any of them, right? I just don't vote. I haven't voted in my life, and I kind of enjoy not voting. And a lot of people is gonna say, well, slavery and your ancestors, and they died for the right for you to vote. And I would say to that hey, look, they fight for my right to vote, but I have a right to exercise that right to vote, whether I choose or I choose not to. You know what I mean? You can't vote. You can't fight to force me to vote, right? You fight to allow me and give me a chance. If I so wish to, I can vote. I have that privilege. I have that right, right? Because it's a privilege too. Because you can lose that privilege. It's not even a right. It's more of a privilege, right? Because if you go to prison, you lose that. You can lose that right to vote, right? So yeah, I don't know if I'm ever I'll never say never, right? So I don't know if I'm never ever gonna vote, but for right now, I don't see anybody on both sides of the aisle that move me, are dealing with the issues that I care about. You know what I mean? If I see somebody in my community, whether it's a mayor or something like that, or even a sheriff, because or a police chief or something like that, that may call me out to vote, I may go out there and vote, or a senator, or a congressman or woman or something like that. Those are what would be more important to me. A president, I just think, is just waving hands and shake it babies. I just that's just for me. You know what I mean? But as I said, I never voted in my life, and it's kind of like I'm a voter virgin. I want to maintain my voter virginity, so to speak. So yeah, I just disagreed with the stuff that he named something else. I can't remember it, but I know I disagree with it. But it's different in America, right? It's different out here in these streets. You know what I mean? Because you see these people, they're willing. Americans are willing to fight for what they believe in. And I just wish that people from my walks of life, have that same, fervor and strength, and will, to fight for what you believe in. You saw what happened with the Kenyan president the other day, right? Let me look this up. Kenya, but he's been rushed as well. And as you can see, these people are willing to fight for what they believe in and fight for their freedom. They're not going to just sit down and just take, stuff from the government, right? They're not going to sit down and just take stuff from the government. It's like, you know what? You get the fuck out of here with that shit, right? These people are willing to kill or die for what they believe in, right? And when we gonna have, they made a decision and the people protest, they got angry, it became violent, and he changed his mind with a quickness, right? And the same thing here, right? Because here, Donald Trump got shot at, and then is like the Democrat. Well, I don't want to say he got shot at. He got shot, and then the Democrats, they kind of pulled up in their shell. All of a sudden they don't want to win the election anymore, right? It's just crazy to see. All of a sudden they throw their hand up and like, okay, well, let's unite the country and let's do all this stuff, right? They don't want to win the election anymore, right? Because it gets serious, right? Which I don't think they should do that, because what if it's a ploy for you to soften up and step back, And there's even reports that Donald Trump would rather run against Joe Biden than anybody else, because there's a push to replace Joe Biden because of his lack of awareness. That's the best way I can put it, right? And I was like, you don't really want to win against Joe Biden, big bad bold Trump. You don't want to win against Joe Biden. You want to win against somebody, a formidable opponent, right? That you can say, or feel like you did something. But if you go out and you win against somebody who, forget their name, or can't even remember their name different from the toilet seat. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not a victory. Or to me, that's not a worthwhile victory. You want to beat somebody who can give you a fight. It feels better. There is nothing. To me, I'm a sports guy. There's nothing like a comeback win. When you're down, whether it's soccer, you're down like 3-0 or 3-1, and then you come roaring back. Or basketball, you're down 20, 25, and you come back and win, right? So I don't think he should want to keep Biden. He should want to run against Biden. I think he should want to run against somebody, a formidable, whomever that is. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know who it that might be, but you should want to win against somebody more formidable. So when you win, it actually looks good, right? Because President Biden doesn't seem like he can find where the doorway is. He might want to leave, but I don't think he know where the doorway is, right? He just, marching around the room like trying to remember what he's in there for. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like how I look at that situation. If you're gonna win big and win against a formidable opponent, you know. And a lot of people, and some people may be worried that if he win. And my take on it is that one day Trump is going to be the president, and one day he's not going to be the president. Just like Biden, one day he's going to be the president, and when there's another day he's not going to be the president. I don't think it changes a damn thing, right? Because there is things in place to guardrail against certain things. One of them you see played out in January 6th, right? There are guardrails in this kind of democratic system to prevent certain things, right? So as a president of the United States, you don't have almighty power, right? So him being the president is only going to be a matter of time, right? Biden being the president is going to be a matter of time. None of them is going to be president forever. At some point, it will over, you know, and then you're going to move on with your life. And hopefully, you were still working on your life while they were president, right? Otherwise, you're going to be playing catch up if you get caught up into this kind of political, shenanigans that happen, on a day to day basis. And that's how I treat everything. Every challenge that I face, I just know that okay, one day is gonna be here, and then there's another day. Um, it's not. I used to do that a lot when I'm on deployment. A lot of people, we're out there and it's a it's 100 and what the hell just happened? But anyway, it's 100 and however many degrees, right? And people are, this soccer or whatever the case may be, and I'm like, at some point this shit's gonna be over, and we're gonna go home. One day's gonna start, and one day's gonna stop. Nothing lasts forever, right? And that's the mindset that brings me through a lot of this shit, because I've seen a lot just being here in the United States, and I've seen a lot. I've dealt with a lot throughout my life, right? Both being in the military, being outside of the military, and still going through a lot of shit. But I just know one day it's gonna end, and when you're going through it, it seems like this big, yeah, big, right? But when you get through it and you look back at it, you realize it was just a smidgen, you know. And then you look at it and you say, "It's a good thing I didn't kill myself over that shit," right? Because sometimes that's all it takes, just that one moment, you know, to end your life over something that is just this small. You just don't know it at the time because while you're going through it, it just seemed big, right? And the same thing, a lot of people just say see it as it's gonna be a big deal that Donald Trump might become president again, and I totally don't see it as a big deal, right? I'm not gonna vote for him, and I'm not gonna vote for his opponent either. Right, the California vote is already locked up for Biden. California, he's gonna get those delegates. California is pretty much, by and large, a Democratic state, right, or a liberal state, I should say, right. So they're more on the side of Democrats, right. So my vote won't do a thing to Biden, right. It won't help Trump either. It won't help Trump either, because the gap is that wide, right? So Biden pretty much got California, and I'm in California, so whether I vote or not, it'll make a big deal, right? But a lot may think that if Trump wins, it's it's gonna be a big deal, right? And it's a big deal for him, right? And for those who want him to win, right? But not much is gonna change. You're still gonna live your life. If you're going to school, you're gonna continue to go to school. If you're going to work, you're gonna continue to work, right? You're gonna continue to drive the same car you're gonna drive, or you're gonna update if you plan up if you plan to upgrade, right? And then at some point, he's not gonna be the president anymore, and somebody is gonna take over, right? Where it will shows up though is what it is in places like the Supreme Court, and those things are long lasting, right? You start the court with a certain amount of judges that lean a certain way. That stuff carry on for years after they're gone. Not the executive orders. The executive orders can change. Yeah, you can shake them out in one and say, okay, okay, I'm gonna sign this executive order that says um, police is immune. But when he gone, that changed, because I don't see how you're gonna get a legislation through Congress and Senate and the whole 9 yard to say that police should have immunity. That's not going to happen. So those are the things that we have to watch out for. We have to think critically about the things that he's saying. Not everything that he's saying is true. We know that. But not everything that he actually says he's going to actually do. You got to be able to pick out the sense out of nonsense, right? And figure out what's possible. If you don't know how the country runs and how the laws work, then try to learn that, right? And if you don't understand the Constitution, try to learn the Constitution, because there's a constitutional issue there. It's not possible. There's no way all 50 states is gonna sign on to that kind of mess, right? So yes, he said it, but that's neither here nor there, right? But anyway, that's my take on the Donald Trump situation. Um, I might do something another video on it, as soon as I find out more. Because as I said, I gear my stuff on factual information, and I don't want to say too much when I don't really fully understand, or fully grasp what's going on. Right, more is gonna come out. As I said, we need to know what that guy was up to. The guy that shot at him. look at that a little bit different. Anyway, that's my take.